Do you think this is a proper brand? Do you think this is how the world works? You guys are completely off. Our biggest failure was our biggest success today. So I'm not here to impress you. I'm here to make sure that you're actually well positioned. I wake up every single day to think I have a reason to live. It's to take care of your dream. Every single night, I ask myself, have you done everything you can to help your clients, yes or no? I'd rather all lose 10, 15% and do a good brand than anyone ever trying to mark up and lose the brand.
Welcome aboard EMIT Talks. On this episode, we dive deep into the success story of Mohammed Saman, luxury brand consulting guru, master brand strategist, and co-founder of Longe Black and Laxius. From representing some of the highest luxury brand profiles in the world, such as Mansouri, the Four Seasons, and more, to helping set the strategies and approach needed to propel local Egyptian luxury brands into the international market, we'll be attempting to delve deep into his mindset of success. Join us as we take a dive into the world of luxury, strategy, brand essence, and more with the man they call Mo, only on EMIT Talks. Welcome aboard EMIT Talks, and on this episode, joyed to have on board with us right here on an EMIT boat, none other than Mo Elsamman. Mo Elsamman, of course, co-founder and head brand strategy guru of many, many luxury brands, and of course, Longe Black being the headliner of these brands. Mo, welcome aboard EMIT Talks.
Hello, how are you? It's an honor to be here.
It's an honor to have you here, man.
My pleasure. How have you been?
I've been good. I've been looking forward to this one because I am a fan of anything that helps promote any Egyptian brand of any sort. And you guys have really been doing that, and you've been really successful at that at Longe Black and beyond. But as we always start EMIT Talks, we always believe that success has to start with a little failure somewhere along the line. So we kick off by asking Mo some of your favorite failures throughout your journey so far.
Very, very interesting. So the idea of Longe Black started with us trying to present ourselves as the brand consultants until we were slapped in the face by the real brands globally. And we were told a couple of years ago, maybe 9 years ago, do you think this is a proper brand? Do you think this is how the world works? You guys are completely off. You still are trying to impress the local market. You're way off track, and you actually have to be much more invested to understand how do global brands work. So our biggest failure was our biggest success today, realizing that most of the local brands in Egypt are not so invested into positioning themselves globally. So we always hear Egypt had the fashion industry in the 60s. You had all the fashion brands. So you're always told that we had everything so good in Egypt in the 60s, the 70s. And then you ask them, so how many of these businesses are presented globally today? So you have, for example, Shabrawi going to Arabiata, and you have McDonald's, both founded the same year. Actually, Shabrawi before McDonald's, 10 years. And then you ask yourself, and how are they both doing? So you have a brand that's global, and you have a brand that's just local. And us realizing this gap is what evolved us into constantly developing our strategies to make local brands succeed globally.
That's very, very interesting because that taps into deep local cultural insights, collective cultural insights. And that will lead me to my next question. Do these cultural differences affect how our local brands have been positioning themselves throughout the years, and where have they been falling behind? And we're going to talk about what they can do to get ahead in the game.
It really does, because the entire Egyptian market is built on being comfortable with what you do. So people like making their business so dramatic and emotional. So most of the local brands, or most of the local businesses, if not all, they just want to be in their comfort zone. So for example, when it comes to the way they present themselves, everyone's trying to do it on a traditional way. TikTok is trending, so let's just do reels. Billboards is trending, so let's do billboards. Everyone's trying to copycat, to be a copycat and actually copy the others. And instead of them actually investing into how they're really seen, most of them, they just go with traditional positioning strategies. And to us, this is exactly where we shine, and this is why we're so invested in that. It's We always say branding is the power of standing out, not trying to blend in. So you have to have such character. If I tell you any global brand, no matter the brand, from a design of a product, you can know a BMW. From the color of a shoe, you can know a Christian Louboutin. You can easily, three stripes, it's Adidas. You can just easily recognize the brand. And an Apple product is an Apple, so you can easily know what you're trying to, how a brand is recognized. But you see that most of the major local brands, they just feel all the same, they look all the same, they're all very close to each other. So generally, I think the culture, our biggest investment today is trying to educate the owners and business mindsets to be invested to try to appeal to global markets to actually succeed there.
I mean, I was just gonna ask, where do you start? Do you start with the education aspect of getting people to understand the importance of what brand equity is and why it is that from the color palette that's a BMW or that's an Audi or that's a Mercedes, and how do we apply that to our brands locally? So it must take a certain type of client to be on board with that sort of mentality, right?
Yeah, it does. We always pride ourselves that we have the highest rejection rate as a consultancy, and people think this is us being arrogant, or we just reject people who don't want to invest in such methodologies, and that's very important because, as you just literally said, educating your client is it's a mandatory. You have to be so invested as an advisory to really educate your client, and the people who reject such insights to us are a waste of time, because if I'm trying so hard to grow your business, to make it properly positioned globally, and you don't have the same exact mindset, so we're wasting each other's time. And for that, I completely agree with this. It starts with you understanding the type of goal or vision. So me and you we're heading to Guna. Maybe you want to stop at Sukhna. I don't think this is right, because we have to keep on going to Guna. So as long as you and I agree to the vision, and we're all both going, for example, with EMIT, I wanna position my boat to be the lifestyle boat in Bel Air and California, no matter the location. So if this is exactly where you and I are heading, then this is how we should be going. The first thing I'm supposed to be doing is educating you or talking to you, or introducing you into the world of business, boating business, how it's run, how does it grow, because we can be so passionate about the brand, but it will never be the biggest brand in its industry. So I can be a very passionate person about my jewelry brand in Egypt, my coffee brand, no matter the product. But for me to really grow into being positioned into the biggest stores, for example, Octane are now in Harrods, or Cotton and Sauce, no matter the brand that is global, you have to realize that for you to really appeal in global markets, you have to be,
You have to tell a story.
yeah, and you have to be so good at it, because there are a lot of people other than you telling different stories.
And there are a lot of people on the other side making a very similar story for half the cost, and appealing to people that aspire to that product and to buy it for half the cost. And now that we're talking about these Egyptian brands, do you feel a shift happening in brand strategy? I mean, you guys are doing some great work. You're aligned with so many incredible local brands, but also some very impressive international brands, everything from the Four Seasons to Mansouri. And it takes a name, or it takes a methodology, or a modus operandi to be able to attract these big names into your roster and your profile. So are you seeing a shift in how Egyptian brands are starting to do things now, whether they're signed with you or not?
Yeah, we do. We're actually celebrating next month a 9-year anniversary. So we've been in market for nearly 10 years, and we see the growth and interest in the market. So when we started the first 4 or 5 years, people thought we're wasting time. You're trying to create a luxury experience in Egypt, up until we consulted with some of the agents of plenty of international brands, with like Rolex, Chopard, and now Four Seasons and Mansouri, Maybach, actually icons as well. What's interesting to us is that we started by realizing that such brands are so invested into so many intricate details, and to us it makes sense today, because now we see the locals doing the same. So now we're celebrating, for example, a new project in Sahel, in North Coast, and what's very interesting is how now the local businessmen and women are actually investing in such details as the global brands. So now we're in our, actually I believe now we're in our comfort zone, because now you see people appreciating such details. So now we were in a crisis meeting trying to pick the mosaic tiles of a pool to have a design for the rooms to look for the people in the rooms in the hotel in Sahel to have an Instagrammable experience to the umbrellas and the pool area. Such details is going to cost you probably double the actual budget of the pool area, the swimming pool area. 3 years ago, people would call us insane, but today there's an entire board meeting to design such experience, to have a branded experience in the hotel. It's an Egyptian hotel, by the way. So we have this. I'm humbled by being recognized and seen by such Egyptian and local brands, and actually being let or allowed to create such experiences. So imagine right now being the most trending hotel, an Egyptian local hotel, that is now the most trending in Africa, because it has the experiences that everyone are trying to
emulate.
Yeah, of course. And for that, this is exactly why I believe this is the golden time for people to be invested. Because if you realize how things has been going with the devaluation and the entire economy scene, if you thought of it now, local brands, for example, in coffee, are not just competing global brands. Actually, they're winning. So if you see any trending location, if you see in Guna, most of the trending businesses are local. And this is, I'm talking in coffee business, and this is my own perception of things. Look at how all the locals, okay, so we say competition creates norm. It makes culture. It creates the idea. So you want...
And benefit for the customer at the end of the day.
Yeah, and when you do that, think of it as BMW needed Mercedes and Audi and Porsche to compete against each other for the German quality of a car to be German. So now you say my car is a German brand because the competition created the market. So now if all the local brands, for example, in the boating industry, in the coffee industry, no matter, actually now in the clothing industry, all the Gen Z trending brands are dominating the global ones. So we always promote to create, if you don't have enemies, you have to create the enemies. You need to create your competition, because when you and I are both competing over standard and quality, of course, not price competitive market and burning each other. I mean, if we're competing on a specific standard, this helps the entire market grow into being a very powerful market and create for you the kind of positioning that you need.
So you're definitely seeing a shift in also the likability or the wantness of people to support Egyptian sort of products. But we were talking about education, and how far does your strategic consulting go with respect to something like maintenance, after sales service? In order to produce a quality product, you have to have a very solid quality production line, which requires, let's be honest, a work ethic upgrade to our relaxed, normal work ethics. Do you guys get into the nitty-gritty with your partners in that aspect as well?
This is exactly how we grew from a branding agency into a brand management firm, now to a full-fledged business consultancy. The more we were invested into details, the bigger the impact, and the more we demanded some authoritative roles. So it all started with us trying to create a nice brand, and then we asked ourselves, but they're missing the operations. We need to be invested in operations, so we need to hire someone technical in our team to be able to consult for our clients. So we grew from a consultancy into a fully fledged empire. So now we're running like this. It's an alliance of 14 businesses.
Yes, of course, with Mohammed Swidi is on board.
Now, and specifically for the maintenance and all of this, no one does it better than him. If you go into his polo club, the entire management and operations of everything, and you're talking about an entire empire of managing the horses and how you manage the
riders, Argentina, South Africa.
Yes. Yeah. So in fact, we're taking again another pride with Mohammed Swidi joining, is not only are we into all the details of finance, management, even the operation and maintenance, because he's specifically known for that, running academies for technicians, for maintenance of all factory personnel. So even in that, we're now evolving to be even more invested in such things. We say it in the Longe Black way. So your brand has been locally run, or you're about to create a local brand to launch a hotel, a business, a school, no matter the product. Let me study how do I make sure that every single thing from the brand of your brand from A to Z is competing on all international standards against no matter the position you want. So if you want an Egyptian Gucci, let me run this entire empire to make it an Egyptian Gucci. No matter the brand, no matter the industry.
That must be tough to get clients to sign up on that, or get clients to change a process that's been going on in their family's factory for the last 50 years untouched. That must be how challenging is that aspect of the job?
Usually the new brands are challenging even more than the old ones, because the old businesses, they come to you when they already know that they have a problem, because you have to think of yourself as an emergency doctor. So in my business, usually specifically the big ones, the big family businesses, they come to you when you have first generation against second generation partners, cousins. You have an entire empire of local, specifically even if family run business empires. Usually you go to the doctor when you're in pain. So usually they come to us knowing they have a problem. And how does it usually work? You have a guy that owns, for example, a project in Guna, and he sees his cousin, his competitor, doing another project. But his cousin was working with us. And he sees his cousin doing much bigger brand with a much bigger impact, much bigger sales. And now they're signing, for example, their second project in Saudi Arabia. And the guy thinks he's using the same resources, but the guy that's working with Longe Black, my cousin, is going places. So they call us and they tell us we need to sit and talk. So specifically when it comes to the local established businesses, usually they call us with their own pain. They know exactly what they need.
But that's two different mentalities of approaching a problem. At Longe Black, would you prefer, as the doctors, for the client to come with a problem or to come before the problem even existed?
We prefer, as problem solvers, the problem. So we prefer a problem to happen, because if I fix your problem, then I'm the savior. I change everything. But if you come to me and you have nothing, in fact, if I fix the problem, I'm much more expensive as a consultancy. If you come, so we prefer that because it's challenging. But if we advise for something, definitely, please, if you have a piece of land, just come to us with an empty land. Let us design the land, do the finance, do everything, the engineering, the architect, everything, and let us deliver a project that's well executed. So we definitely always promote, as a doctor, I always promote for you to have to take care of your health. But if I'm a doctor that is of challenge, as an emergency doctor, we feed over fixing problems. So
bring them back to life.
Yeah. So we prefer that. So our competitive soul likes fixing the problem.
That's very interesting. And
Yeah.
from also, this is a curious question from a Longe Black perspective. What is the tipping point that takes a local Egyptian brand from local luxury to international luxury?
We have several pillars to build the brand on. Our biggest is, do you own the trade name? So for example, if I have a brand that is very well established in Egypt, but they just basically copied another brand in the UK. So for example, my brand is called Hush Puppies. There is Hush Puppies in the States. And you tell me, no, I'm Hush Puppies Cafe. This one it's a footwear brand. I tell you, listen, if you're creating a brand, the basic thing that you have to develop is a proper brand. A Prada is a Prada. There's just a single Prada in the world. There's a single Rolex in the world. So if you want to be global, you don't do the mistake of thinking locally like, but Hush Puppies are not in Egypt. They wouldn't notice. But what if you go global and you're about to register your trade name? And so the first thing, why is it so important? Everything that is built on your brand is built on its trade name. If you fail the trade name, if I had to go say I'm going to do a cafe or a restaurant in Egypt called Adidas Cafe, the second I go travel to Dubai, I'm just going to get rejected and a claim against my name. So our biggest problem is that most of the businesses in Egypt, they develop their names based on their own gut feeling, which shouldn't happen this way. There's a name, and specifically naming, there's a strategy behind it. And then we start talking of positioning and equity. So if I want to replace Rolls Royce. How far am I from Rolls Royce? You can't think of a brand, for example, of a car brand. And I think some of the majority Chinese brands are failing in this because they have the technology today in cars, for example. But when you ask a Rolls Royce owner, would you leave your Rolls Royce for a Ching Bong car? It sounds too Chinese. You automatically are
I am
associate-
M7X43.
yeah. So you feel it doesn't replace how I feel. And in fact, Apple, the US brand, is manufactured in China, but it does not feel to the end user as a Chinese brand. So specifically, this gut feeling is critical with your buyer behavior. And this is our biggest expertise, how people react to brands. Because the biggest problem in brands, in our opinion, specifically in Egypt, it's they create brands according to the feeling of the owner, not the feeling of the audience. The owner can love the brand or hate the brand. We couldn't care. So in fact, we always say, specific in Arabic, أنا مش جاي أبهرك, أنا جاي أنجحك. So I'm not here to impress you. I'm here to make sure that you're actually well positioned. So your personal opinion, specifically in the business,
That was going to be a follow-up question for me. It's the challenges of people with brands and the concept of my baby.
Yeah.
How do you break that, stay away from my baby, don't touch my baby, don't talk to my baby like that?
we put it in our contracts. We do. It's our second claim, our second term in our contract. If you want to say your opinion, we will always respect it. But that's the second you're accountable for your business.
So that's where you hand the liability back over
If
to the client.
Anything you'll say, listen, we're in an emergency room, and your friend is in the ER. So as a doctor, I'll tell you, I'm about to operate. You want to operate? Here's the razor. You can take care of him. Want me to operate? You can. If I take care of him and I make him succeed, this is my deal. If you want to tell me what I should do, you can take the room. You take your friend. You can do the. I'll give it. I'll allow you to go take care of your friend. In this case, it's your responsibility, and we have such a light heart about this because we understand that servicing business in the world usually it's not so appreciated, and specifically in Egypt, the design, the service, all the intangible items they don't appreciate. But we have a very interesting way to measure the success. So in any industry, we go tell them, okay, so tell me what's a local brand that now has been well positioned, for example, in luxury experiences in Egypt. So Bayrak, it's Zizou's, Mohammed Zidane's, the football player's brand. When we did the brand and we sat with Al-Futim, second day what happened was we took a store between La Martina in front of our neighbors Apple, in front of Armani Cafe, Philip Lane, D Squared. So this is a local brand with no history. It's a from scratch brand. The second we were able to create it, we were positioned between the biggest international brands. So this is very easy to...
So positioning is not just ethereal, it can also be physical.
It is, definitely. And this is why we always say, because again, I'm telling you, I have a very young soul about it. So when we're challenged about this, we say, for example, in real estate, for example, they say, so, yeah, but how would it be different? Look at the sales, look at the people, look at the community, look at the projects. In fact, look at this specific real estate developer. Look at his 12 years before us and look at his 1 year with us. It's very easy. You want to compare? Let's compare. So here's 12 years before the positioning strategy, and here's 1 year, not 10. 1 year after it.
This is very interesting because this taps into a concept that I believe in. I think as a culture and part of what you guys are working on, I think we have some major issues with data in general. Accumulating data, loving data, analyzing the data, and acting according to the data. How much impact does that affect Longe Black, especially when dealing with international brands versus local brands?
It works on both layers. The international brand, they want to make sure they're localized. In fact, there are plenty of car brands, when they launched in Egypt with no equity, they wanted to make sure they're loved by the people. So they were very meticulous and very detail-oriented when they're picking their people and their representatives and their launching strategy. So you want a local consultant that knows international market to be able to make you grow and talk to the global audience, but you still want a local consultant to take your international brand and localize it to a local audience. So in simple words, انت عايز حد ابن لعيبه. You want someone who knows how to play both. They know how to talk that language and this language. And when we do this, our data or our metrics or methodology is usually by behavior. Because if I do you the biggest brand ever and it's not selling, it's a failure. In fact, people usually mix us with marketing, and we're brand management, and even in marketing, because we understand it, it's not our expertise. But even in marketing, we always say, "Listen, have you seen this campaign? It looks so nice. It's very creative." I will always say, "Does it sell?" If it doesn't sell, to me, it's not creative. And thank you for it being so creative. Did it sell? No. حلو.
It's won a Cannes award for the advertising, but the company didn't actually sell anything.
So this is our metrics. So our data is generally always business focused and always metrics focused. And by the way, its selling isn't always just monetary selling. So, for example, you have a company in stock, and you wanna in stocks, and you wanna raise the equity. You wanna be able to revive a dying company. So if its stocks are up, you're going right. If it's well positioned, you're going right. If the project announced made its stocks go even higher, you're doing right. So the metrics are clear. The data and metrics we use are very clear. The idea of you technically understanding if the metrics are done right or not, we educate the client. So our way of doing things is we sit with the client and we make them really understand how much we're about to dive deep into their band.
Oof, that's a tough point. Is it more difficult to sit with a local client and manage their expectations on what they're about to face abroad, or is it more difficult to sit with a massive international client and sort of manage expectations about the local Egyptian market and what they might face logistically?
Definitely local clients.
Okay.
In fact, it's part of us joking with our local clients. The biggest luxury global brands haven't been making it that tough on us. So try to allow us to help you. I think it's very interesting in our industry. You're trying to coexist with a dreamer who's an entrepreneur, or she's an entrepreneur who's trying to build a brand. It's so hard to take control and be the sailor when the business entrepreneur, his or her mindset is, I have to be the captain.
It's still the my baby. It's back to the my baby approach. Yeah.
So to trust the expert and say, okay, I'll leave you the boat. Just make sure that we're going the right direction. And you just let me focus in the right direction. It's so hard, because as an emergency doctor of brands, you have to trust that I can skip the x-rays and check on your heart before anything else, because it's critical to me. So there are a lot of risk factors that we take. In fact, sometimes after we're done, I go tell the client, listen, I know it was tough, but look at where we are. I know it was so hard on you. Sometimes I get family businesses that have been named for 50 years something. We changed the brand, the naming structure, everything. I revamped the entire concept. So from X to B. And I know it's hard, but because you're a doctor, you make it sound so easy. So to be able to convince locals that you can compete on global level and actually take the brand globally, to us is really challenging. The other way around, in fact, it's so easy. Most of these marriages, they came directly to us. We never pitch to any global or local brand. So
that's very impressive, actually. Yeah.
We never pitch our brand. We never went into any competition. We never ever pitch our idea to anyone, because again, there are plenty of global brands as well in Egypt, but the only ones who are performing, alhamdulillah, we're always known to be the people you go to make sure that your brand is well positioned, to have a reputation to keep. And we take pride in that most, if not all, our luxury brands globally till today, ever since we signed together, till the second we're current consultants for them. So we haven't, alhamdulillah, lost any of our clients. No matter the brand, agents of, for example, Philippe Palace, they have Rolex, and they have Hublot and Chopard. Ever since we've worked together since 2020 till today, so now we have 6 years in the pipeline, consulting with them, and we take pride with them, because now it's not just a client, we're growing to family and actually build it's a
partners and
partnership.
and then and then family, like you said.
And now, and we're not even not يعني, we're not even empowered we're, or not even empowered by them. We're honored to be their recommended consultancy.
Wow.
And it's such an honor that you get a call from your client and now mentor, because Dr. Hab's a godfather to me. And he calls me and he tells me, this guy is missing this part and I think no one can do it better than you. And it's so meaningful. You've been for years trying to build equity. You're trying to prove that you can actually fulfill. And here's what's very interesting. Being trusted with the business is what makes us live theoretically. Yani,
Yes.
I wake up every single day to think I have a reason to live, is to take care of your dream. So not you have to realize that you trusting me with it's such a heart feeling thing. It's my fuel. I live by you trusting me with your business. And we're very passionate about it. In fact, we were always told as consultants, why are you so passionate? You're supposed to be analytical and structured. And we say this is not how it works. We're talking to people who are selling to people. So we have to be people, we have to be humans. So it's so important to actually be so invested in your dream and actually have you call me in a couple of years, in a year, and tell me, Samman, honestly, you guys have been the best thing I've ever had in my life. Where were you since I started my business? And this is our pride. And Diba is...
You know what? That's brilliant, because one of the questions we always ask on EMIT Talks is that we believe success also starts with an inner dialogue. So we were curious as to what Mo's inner dialogue on a day-to-day would be like, and you just gave us a little bit of a hint of it. But as Longe Black and as Mo, what's your inner dialogue like when you're dealing with all these clients?
I always try to hit a level of inner transparency that every single time I go to bed, every single night, I ask myself, have you done everything you can to help your clients, yes or no? In fact, my biggest boost of life is random calls from random clients when they just realize what have been done in their businesses. So if you ask me what keeps you going, and personally, it's a random call from a client telling you, you know what, I'm so impressed that I didn't even ask you to do me this specific thing. Or actually 3 days ago, a client called me and told me, Saman, our contract was over last year. Why did you send me this specific project? And I told him, because you've not been focused in this industry for the past 11 months. He says to me, man, you guys are unbelievable. There's not a single reason for why you'd send me that. We're not an agency. We don't mark up on deals. So we're not a broker. We don't mark up on connections. And he tells me, and it's a factory and he's doing 2,500 furnished apartments. I don't have to, I'm not obliged to do it. And I was good. I connected them and I'm good. I was okay. But what was so interesting is when he called me, he was like, it isn't about you being a good consultant as Longe Black. It's just, you are not required to do this. It's not, I wouldn't say not in our contract. Our contract is over a year ago. So you guys doing this, it keeps you alive. And this is
what builds brand equity for Longe Black. This is what people will realize down the line.
Yeah.
Back to Longe Black. I'm sure you're proud of all of them, and each of them had a great story. But I'm curious, the local brand you're most proud of, and also the international brand that you're most proud of, as a story. It's not the brand per se, the story of it.
I like the journey usually of things. When it comes to locals, now we're 4 ever since Sweden has joined. So it's me, Noor, Nadim, Nadine Faid, our CEO now, and Sweden. And I'll tell you why I'm saying this. It's how we're a team. So it's how you play with each other. So when it comes to before locals or global, how we play with each other, for people who don't. The idea of playing as a team is what makes it interesting. So how me and Nadine play together is a thing, and how me and Nadine play together is a thing. How me and Sweetie, so it's how it's done. So my biggest, for example, 1-2 with Noor was in Direction White a couple of years ago, and we were working with the management over creating an entire experience in hope to be able to attract a global brand. And when Intercontinental joined and said it was the first time they come since City Stars, so 25 years ago, when they came in and they told us they're coming and they're actually going to take the project, it was so nice to feel like you created such a city that's so well designed in Sahel that Intercontinental on board, Mali Wazir al-Siyaha, the Minister of Tourism, and so the whole experience was, I'm mind blown that a project we created was that striking. But what makes it interesting is that for us to create such project, we didn't have architecture in our consulting things. Nadeem, my partner, is an architect. So I asked Noor, can we just study how architecture and urban design is done and actually try to help on can we open a new thing in Longe just to make sure that we do it right? And how we spent 8 months reassessing our entire company, creating a team to be able to consult in real estate on a bigger level, it was a blessing. And having such someone, Mohammed Amin, the owner, Dukhmisi, then having an owner that would risk and trust you to help him in such project was such an honor. It's such a blessing. Yeah. But the whole case was magical, and up until we signed as board members in the project. So going from a consultant of a brand to sales to architecture to concept to development to brand,
that's a journey.
To board members, and so it's a whole thing. Yeah. And hakaza as well with Nadine, it's going 1-2. And the first time we were able to sign our entire services, because I can't force you to work with the brand consultant, the architect, the production house, the agent, the digital agent.
You signed the 360.
Yeah. And we usually we agreed that, because we don't mark up on business, we agreed with all our consultancies that if we were able to get a client with all of us, we will all give a better discount, because it will promote that we're all better together. I'd rather all lose 10-15% and do a good brand than anyone ever trying to mark up and lose the brand. And for that, with Nadine, it was different, because we created legacies together. And it was an alliance that, alhamdulillah, was great. Yani we've done so much. In 4 seasons, it was us, and the production was with them, and the PR and guest list with TGR. So it was an ecosystem. An international brand, I'd always say Dr. Ahab, of Le Petit Palace, agents of Rolex, because we were too young when he gave us the chance. I always tell him, it's so emotional, because we're in the luxury industry. Who's the first person to give you the fuel you need, this boost? The agent of Rolex. So to us, he wasn't just a door opener. He was the only person willing to take a risk, to trust you with such legacy for you to grow with. And that's why the entire family, I don't say they're not, I never introduced them as my clients ever. So this is my family. Because the second you were introduced in such brand, and then you had credibility with other brands, with the Giuseppe Zanotti, and we did actually even a multi-branded department store, Jours, with Chloe and Etro. So we were in this luxury scene, but you were never trusted with a brand. So when he did this to us, it changed everything. And this is why I always tell him that you're the only person literally in Egypt as a client, or our annual contract, I wouldn't even negotiate a single pound. This is your thing. See whatever you see fit. Whatever you put a value, will always abide with, which is deep to us, because it doesn't go the way around in any other business. As a consultancy, these are our fees. If you want to work with us, we're ready. If not, it's an honor. Yani.
The first client, the first cut is always the deepest,
Yeah.
as they say. Now, you're also heavily involved in the strategy of Longe Black, but you're also, I feel, heavily veering into teaching strategy and sharing that experience. And you strike me as a person who does not feel the need to keep the data and to hold the data, but wants to share, because it's what keeps you, what gives you the drive, as you were saying. Tell us a little bit about storytelling for luxury businesses, and your thoughts on where that's going from a local and international perspective.
When you're saying a story, you have to be aware of who's hearing the story. So picking your base, if it's a C-class category, if it's a B-class category of, is very important when you're telling your story, because I see a lot of locals and they say, listen, it's the first ever renewable recycled
You lost me at the
brand.
first ever.
Who are you talking to? C-class? You're trying to create a C-class brand. Did you think they care about all of the story? It's the first ever recycled Egyptian you're saying a story to the wrong people. When you're telling a story, you have to know your audience. And when you know your audience, every single thing about it is about developing your story or your narrative is easy. So if you're targeting C-class, their behavior is always invested towards how do you give me a better value with the quantity of product قصاد الفلوس, against the money. So when you see a C-class brand, you see the brand is developed on bigger buckets of chicken, fried chicken, more extra free shower gel in their product. So they always sell you more with the money you're spending. So if you're creating a brand that targets a C-class audience, be so invested into making them feel they're getting everything included. So if you're a fashion brand, you're a leather goods brand, you get them the wallet and the charger and the wallet of the iPhone case and everything with £1,000 because he's invested in getting everything with a small budget. If you're targeting a B class, they're so invested into the quality of the brand or product versus the money. This is where you start saying, I'm using natural leather, I'm investing in the experience. Look at so you have to say the story that matches the narrative that matches their behavior. And if you're targeting an A-class client, usually the biggest mistake local brands do, they say, I have a luxury brand targeting A-class, عندنا we have the best quality بأحسن سعر, it's always best everything, أحسن سعر أحسن quality. It doesn't work this way. An A-class client, they don't care for quality. Luxury people, they don't care. If you ask someone who's driving a Ferrari, if it's comfortable, they say, it's terrible, but it's a Ferrari. It makes everyone look at me.
It's a 360 experience.
Yeah,
that comes.
yeah, but is it comfortable? It's not. So they're not trying to sell you comfort. They're trying to sell you status. And with status, you start understanding the narrative and how it works. So luxury clients, they care for experience, not quality. So now, this is where I'll start advising over how you say your story. So if I'm thinking of, for example, EMIT, and I'm trying to guide them into a story, it's a family-run business. The CEO now is a very charming young man. I'm very impressed by. Actually, I'm extremely inspired by him because when I was talking with Hakeem, his this decision to stay and actually build locally such brand that appeals mainly to global markets is inspiring. It actually moved me. I told him I was really, I'm proud. I'm really proud because I teach in uni, and very rarely you see family businesses that have such passion in second generation, and him having this is humbling. So in this case, I'll advise for a much different story. Since it's run by that mechanism, you have to have a better narrative. And how the narrative would go in my world is, how can I make sure that empowering such business becomes the trending thing? How can I make sure that all the niche businessmen and women in Egypt take pride in buying from me, take pride in empowering me? So it shouldn't just reflect the luxury lifestyle and nice marine experience with some nice shoots and modeling and everything. I want people to see why they should put money with me. And I should make it such a thing that people really feel invested when they invest in me. They feel like they're empowering me. In fact, I always say أختين grew because all the women and local women industry, we were so powerful, and I give them credit for that. بيعرفوا يقوموا بعض. ستات
And it goes back to what you were saying earlier, something as simple as the name that أختين creates. It creates a female bond. It creates that sort of camaraderie.
And how the local, يعني how the female, how they empowered أختين and they gave them such love is what made أختين in my opinion. طبعا strategic positioning with بدايات, and I love them. يعني all I mean is when you're trying to sell the experience to your clients, it's not about if the Range Rover has natural leather or not. It's what is Range Rover and how does it stand for positioning. It's how you feel driving one. It's how people look at you. So if I do you a brand that looks like Range Rover with natural seats and everything, trying to compete against it, it still won't be Range Rover, because you're trying to build this impact. A Bentley is a Bentley. No matter how any other brand tries to sell you this sporty luxury, a Bentley is a Bentley. The soul of Bentley is Bentley. And this is exactly why when we talk with locals, we tell them it's not about the story where you try to convince me with your story. Try to make me as a customer feel like I'm missing everything if I did not buy your brand. Feel like I'm not any wallet, natural leather or not, is a wallet. The difference between a $2,000 wallet and a $2 wallet is how you feel about it.
How it makes you feel, the
Yeah.
experience.
So if I tell you, listen, this wallet is all natural leather, it's interesting because Leopelli did a collaboration with EMIT. It's about how much do you stand as a EMIT Boat owner when you realize that you empowered two local brands. You empowered the manufacturing of your country. You find all the billionaire businessmen in Europe, they take so much pride. They'll be wearing a very nice Patek and a very nice watch, but they tell you, listen, this is a handcrafted watch from a Swiss watchmaker because I'm a Swiss man. They take pride in investing into their local businesses. This is the kind of culture and kind of story we as local brands need to create with our luxury community in Egypt. So I'm not so I'm not just wearing a nice bag, I'm empowering this bag. I'm not having a nice boat, I'm empowering the boat. So yes, I can buy another brand other than EMIT, but I'm investing in my positioning and in my community riding an EMIT boat. So it stands for something.
And how, here's a tough one. How do you see that scaling down? How, because again, there is cultural issues to discuss here. How do I make that leather maker and that factory be super proud of their job? And how does that scale down to not just the luxury brands, but, a regular shoemaker? How do I bring pride back to Egyptian craftsmanship and production in general? Because that's a tough one.
And in our world, this is exactly where we say competition creates norm. When you're talking of brand experiences, you want to make sure that your brand develops in all pillars, on internal affairs and between the people in the company. So if I work in Bentley as salesman and you work in Mitsubishi as salesman, I'm definitely sure we feel different. We don't feel the same about working in such businesses. In my world, if I were to advise the entire market, I'll say all German people who work in all German brands feel good. I work in Germany. Germany is all Chinese now people working in Chinese electricals. Definitely they feel a thing. I'll actually advise people, business owners, to start investing in their internal affairs. You have to be so invested in the culture in your business that people take pride in being in such brand and then reflect it externally. So for example, a brand comes and claims they're competitor of EMIT. As EMIT owners, I'd definitely advise them to be invested in making sure the EMIT crew, feels a different position than the other brand's crew. But it's very important that me and the other brand play together to make businessmen in Egypt feel different about investing in local boats. So it has to work in two layers. You want to make sure that, and it goes by the way up to B and C class brands. So if you have a mass brand, and actually this is the case, the clothing industry, the Gen Z trending oversized, they're doing really well now. Why? Because they're doing a mass brand that makes all the Gen Z feel good about their businesses. And this is where I think you can you can fill this gap where in the industry that you're about to be in, you make everyone in it. You and your competitors play the same way. But today, if you have anyone wearing a local brand, you don't say, this is a local shirt. He's wearing a local shirt. And you're proud of it. You have no problem with it. So you have to create this norm. Zaman, you'd feel, you're drinking a local coffee brand. We don't have local. If I asked you 5 years ago, what's an Egyptian local coffee brand, you wouldn't even name one. 5 years ago. Yeah. And now if I tell you tell me, there's this and that and these and those. And why? Because they were able to empower. And this is a mass product. This is not a luxury product. And this is why we promote the market need to play against but with each other. It's as if we're all football players. Me and you, we're trying to be offense or defense, and if we're trying to score, it's if I score, I'm taking credit, and if you do, you take credit. But together, we're a team. So even in businesses, we always tell businessmen, "العبوا مع بعض." Play the game together. You guys are trying to empower the entire market.
Longe Black, the trends are changing. More luxury brands are appearing in Egypt and regionally as well. What's next for you guys? How is the dream growing from a Longe Black perspective?
We're announcing end of this year a business incubator. We're about to be advisory with hopefully the biggest business incubator. So we're basically announcing that instead of us being so niche, any business that is invested into properly growing, we're willing to mentor them, actually do it wholeheartedly up until we make them reach to whatever heights they want to reach to. And we have a big announcement with the Swede.
Ooh.
We have a very, very big announcement with the Swede, inshallah, first quarter of next year. And I think this is the biggest in our scene. And I don't think generally this is something that's ever been considered in Egypt. And I think this is where it will really evolve the entire market. And the biggest part of all of this is that we already announced Empire Upskill. We have our own academy because we're so invested in creating people that think the same. So, and actually, by the way, my first class are people who texted me, people who claim to be competitors, who texted me and told me, actually, I want to take this course with you. And this is where I love what I do. I like and respect businessmen and women who appreciate the competition. I'm always so open. I tell anyone who claim even if they're copying us, I'm good with it, who claim to do the same thing that we do. I tell them, let's have a coffee and let's talk. You say you know what I do. I promise you don't, but let's sit and talk. And this is why we're doing the academy. It's luxury brand management, one of the courses in it, specifically to be able to hire for luxury brands. Because we just signed 4 seasons. If I want to recommend a brand manager, I wouldn't know from where do I get such hire. And for this, we're creating the concept of the whole academy.
That sounds very impressive. So that's from a Longe Black and business perspective. What about from a personal perspective? How is Mo feeling right now, and how does he want to feel in the upcoming journey?
I feel great, honestly. I feel so from 9 years, you have 4 years where you're trying to prove yourself. You're trying to just be seen. And then you were seen. And we spent 5 years trying to commit, to fulfill. And you've delivered. So now it's the time you feel like, okay, it's my time. I have to relax, play it strategic, and actually develop. On a personal level, I feel blessed that I find that after such marathon, so comforting to be able to teach and grow other people. Yani, it's something spiritual. You always feel like, I hope I don't grow greedy. I hope I don't grow too arrogant. You just hope you don't change. And when I found love into teaching, my heart
found peace.
Yeah, it felt humbling to be able to feel like إيه ده اللي أنا بعمله ده, whatever I'm doing is good. I'm willing to just teach this. If I was ever able to help the local economy, I'm okay. I feel like I've done my part. أنا تمام.
Mo Elsamman, what a humbling and peaceful ending to this very, very interesting interview. Thank you very much for joining us on EMIT Talks. More success to you, more success to Longe Black, and may you always find that humbling, peaceful feeling in your heart, my friend.
It's an honor to have you, Sof. Thank you so much.